I mean, you were obviously right time, right place, all that stuff.
Yep. Right time, right place.
The Officer Parker, how are you, sir?
What's up, buddy? How's it going?
If we were in person, I would get your autograph. I swear. I
I
can't believe
appreciate
I'm
it, brother.
talking to you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Let's dive right in. I'm curious. How long have you been in law enforcement?
7 years now, man. Since I was
7 years.
22. Yep, 22
Okay.
years old.
Awesome. 22. I was 24 when I got in. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think the 20s is a good time to get in because it really is like a waking up to how reality really can be for a lot of different people. And police officers are exposed to every kind of reality that anyone faces.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was an eye opener for me. I got to be honest with you, man. So I didn't know Baltimore was a thing when I got into law enforcement, right?
Oh,
And when I got in, and I was like, oh, this is a part of Maryland, and it was crazy, dude. It was a crazy experience. My first year on the street, and I truly just didn't believe that existed in Maryland. You know what I mean?
right. So, okay. So I didn't know if you were from Baltimore. So you're not from there.
No, no, I'm from Washington. I was originally born in Washington D.C. I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, and then, like I said, I went straight into law enforcement at a young age, and ended up in Baltimore. And it's a great place. I'm not gonna, I'm not here to bash or talk down any place or department or any city, but
Yeah.
it was nice. I will say that.
What surprised you the most starting in Baltimore?
I had never seen death. I will say that. I had never seen death on such a scale in which was presented to me working within the city. I mean, my first day out of the academy on field training, it was like a 14-year-old shot in the back of the head, died.
Jeez.
And it was like, that was my first moment. And I had gone home and just like sat in my car for like an hour and just thought about, wow, like that really happened. Prior to that, I'd never seen a dead body. I'd never seen anybody die or be hurt seriously, mangled or shot or whatever, what have you. And that was my first true experience as a cop, was seeing a 14-year-old boy, shot in the back of the head. And I'm just like, this is real. This is real. This is not a game. This is not a joke. All the stories, all the news articles, they're talking about real things. And for me, it was an eye opener at this point, whether I got to accept it now or quit. And for me, it was, I've never been a quitter. I've never been the type of guy to back down from anything. So it was, let's go on and see how far this goes.
You never strike me as a quitter based on your content that you put out online
No,
anyway. So,
no, I don't back down from
you,
anything.
you really appear to be the person that sucks at giving up.
Yeah, yeah. I suck at losing, particularly because for a part of my life, man, I had lost. I had been a loser. I've been the guy who was just like, I was constantly losing at everything. I was overweight at one point in time in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't do well in school. It was just, at a point in my life, I was constantly losing. And one day I got tired of losing, and I was like, no, even if I lose this battle at the end of the day, I'm going to learn something from it that's going to allow me to win this war. So from then on out, I was just like, no, there's no such thing as losing. You can either learn from it, grow from it, or you can accept defeat, and that's when you lose. And I've never accepted it since.
Man, I think we can wrap it up right there. All right, everyone, take care. No. Hey, I want to rewind a little bit. When you had that thought about, am I going to push through this or am I going to quit? Were the officers around you kind of like, hey, this is just a normal day on the job, and downplaying the severity of what the mind actually sees? That whole tough guy, tough gal stick that a law enforcement goes through. What ran through your head to keep going, and what was the reaction to the officers around you, and how'd you react to it after it?
So personally, and being honest here, right, I'd never even expressed, and I think that's part of the issue, and I don't want to generalize, but with a lot of men, we don't express how we're feeling, right? We're not going to say, hey, dude, this is bothering me. That's just not something. You rarely see that, and that's the truth, no matter how much people want to avoid it. We're not going to say what's bothering us. Most of us are not going to. So like any other, I was like, man, whatever, it's fine. But it's later on when you start having the nightmares and you're constantly thinking, and you're just like, yeah, I can't eat, I'm not hungry, which is odd. It was those moments that made you realize, well, this really actually had an effect on my life, because initially you're dealing with it, and it's so much adrenaline, so much emotions going on. You're not really acknowledging how it affects you in that moment.
Yeah.
It's when everything settles, the dust settles, the storm's gone, everything's done and dealt with, and you're sitting here alone in your home having to deal with your own thoughts and your own emotions. And that's when it settles in. And that's when it's time to either realize, hey, listen, this ain't for me because this is going to affect me in a negative way that's going to dictate my life in its entirety, or I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go push forward. I understand what happened and how it happened. And this is a part of what it is in life, right? We can't not change everything in life. It's unfortunate and it happens, but you have to come to a conclusion, especially in this job of law enforcement, because if it affects your ability to be a police officer, then it affects your ability to save your partners if need be, save your own life if need be, and intervene in other calls for service. So you have to be able to dictate whether or not that is it going to affect you to a point that's going to affect your ability to do the job. So if it's not, and it's just bothering you right now at the moment, normal, completely normal. But if it's going to affect you long term, and it's going to bother your ability to possibly save another officer's life, bro, you got to just say, hey, let me step back from a little bit and reevaluate. You know, and it was at that moment where I was like, listen, dude, I've been through tough trials, tough things, and this is different. But let me give it a shot at least. I lose if I quit. If I don't quit, I can at least see what happens. And you know, again, it's unfortunate, but that's the job we chose, right? It becomes an everyday thing. And you know, as hard as that is to hear, somebody getting shot and dying, we see it so often that we're just like, okay, it's unfortunate it happened, but it doesn't affect us on that level to where it affects our job and our ability to perform the job.
You're right. And that's all dynamic points you made. My thing is I try to tell police officers from past mistakes I made when I was working in law enforcement, just this mentality of I'm fine. Like you can even say like, that was sad to see, or yeah, that shook me up. I don't think you're going to be judged as weak. And if you're fearing that, then you're burying it. And therefore, just like you said, thoughts and emotions, thoughts lead to emotions and emotions lead to actions, which can drastically lead to bad action and have serious consequences.
Yep.
But you're right. We cops do put up kind of a wall and get a little bit numb to what we see, but that's also a bad thing. What have you done to keep your personal side to you and not just become this machine walking around without any kind of emotional intelligence?
So personally, and I'm gonna go off topic a little bit, and I think that partially men doing that or officers in law enforcement doing that, because we do it a lot, man. We see a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
And we just like, nah, we're not gonna express it. I'm gonna feel soft, I'm gonna feel sensitive. You know, I don't want somebody to think I'm weak. But you got to realize that society has kind of portrayed that if a man expresses this or this or this, and this is prominent in law enforcement, they face a consequence. They get put on suspended leave for saying, hey, dude, this kind of scene messed me up a little bit. They get put on suspension for what, a year or 6 months. They got to go to whatever training or rehab or whatever they have to go to. And no officer wants to go through that. You know what I mean? So they have created an environment in which officers don't feel comfortable expressing how they feel about something. That's one issue. Society has done the same, but that's a whole nother conversation. But so
no, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, they've made this environment to where we don't feel comfortable or officers don't feel comfortable expressing why this did this to us or how we feel about this, because I don't want to be suspended for 2 months. I don't want to be suspended for 3 months. I don't want to have to go be reevaluated. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's complicated, but on the other side of that, and which you alluded to, was what do you do as a part of that to maintain who you are as a person outside of the uniform? Well, I mean, what did you do before you became a cop? Me, I've always been into fitness. I've been into photography, videography, drone. I fly drones, cars. And I, for a little bit, when I came into law enforcement, I thought I was a cop 100% of the time. You know what I mean, bro? I had the blue line at the back of the car. I had all the tech. Always carried my gun. I was just like, this is my life. And then I got to a point where it was just like draining. I was tired, bro. I was just like, dude, I can't be this person every day, because at some point you're not going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You're a cop 100% of the time. Crime's always going to be there. You're going to lock up the same persons at least 3 or 4 times in your career. So it's just like, at some point I realized, man, this is just not it in its totality. I still have to be a person. And that's what I did, man. I started following my photography, my videography, all of the things that made me happy outside the job. Because when you're off, you're off. I'm not out here looking for stuff to do when I'm off, police wise. So I had to commit to the things that I did that made me happy prior to being a police officer. We all did something. We didn't come into this job not doing anything. We all did something that made us happy. No matter what that is, you got to stick to that, because that's what's going to count at the end of the day. When you're either sad or you're emotional or you're dealing with something from the job, you have to resort either to help or resort to what makes you happy, because this job will drain you and it will take everything from you if you let it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
How long into the career were you before you had that moment of, I got to remember who I am and what I do?
2 years, man. Took 2 years. 2 years. That's it.
That was the moment.
Before I realized it was too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love the job. I'm always going to love the job, but I'm not going to let it take from, who I am as a person. And I think that's the problem with police officers. We're police even when we're off. And it's at some point you got to realize, dude, you're a human being. You're a cop second. You know what I mean? And I hope you don't mind if I curse, do what the hell makes you happy, dude.